Hello. If you're new here, my name is Christina. Nice to meet you. And I pick a little bit of everything for my recommendation videos: thrillers, romance, mystery, fantasy. So hopefully you can find something that you will enjoy reading this summer. The first recommendation I have for you is a romance, and that is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. We meet Josh and Hazel, of course, who used to know each other back in college, but their first impressions of each other back in the day weren't great. So they meet again, and really, that's all there is to a friends to lovers plot, but this book is so much more than that. The characters are really fun to get to know. They are funny. The book is funny. I wish I could say more about this book, but I read it, I think, 3 or 2 years ago, so I don't remember much, but I did rate it 4 stars, so that must be saying something. The next book recommendation I have for you is One Last Stop. I read this very recently, and this was a wild ride. So basically, we follow August. She's 23. She moves to New York. She doesn't know anyone there, so she has to meet some random roommates off Craigslist. Of course, they are very, very quirky, very interesting personalities, and she's just kind of stressed out about her whole life change. And then she goes on to the subway one day. She meets this really attractive girl, but there's something off about this girl. She doesn't really know what. She's kind of trying to figure out, like, is she a ghost? Is she not a ghost? This is in the synopsis, so these aren't any spoilers. And then there's a little bit of time travel involved, and there's some social justice stuff in there, which is awesome. It's a good book. I wish I could say more, but like every time I kept reading it, I was like, this plot is interesting. Okay. And if you like anything that is set in New York, in present day, and in the 1970s, because of the time travel, I think that you will enjoy reading One Last Stop. So let's switch gears and talk about a thriller. This next thriller is The Wife Between Us. I don't want to spoil anything, and the blurb is very, very mysterious, but trust me, this book was very fast-paced. I could not put it down. It was one of those books that when you read it, you don't want to talk to anyone. Like, you just want to ignore everyone else and read this book, which isn't really a good thing. But anyways, I will read you the blurb I have on my handy little Google Doc here. So we have, when you read this book, you will make assumptions. It's a domestic suspense novel. That's my own notes. You will assume you are reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she is obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. And then it says, assume nothing. So I don't know. Are you intrigued yet? Because I was. So I do recommend picking up The Wife Between Us if you like domestic suspense thrillers. The next recommendation I have for you is called One to Watch. I thought this was a really fun read. There are lots of mixed reviews on Goodreads, but if you ignore the reviews and you just see this book as what it is, a piece of entertainment, it is wonderful. So we follow a plus-size fashion blogger, and she gets invited to be on a reality TV show like The Bachelor, and she's really excited because she'll actually end up being the first plus size contestant on one of these shows. So of course that's a better business opportunity, but she makes a promise to herself not to fall in love, and since this is a romance book, we can guess how this is going to happen. But if you enjoy behind the scenes of if you enjoy behind the scenes of reality television and blogging and Instagram lifestyle and all that, I think you will really like this book. I think it's perfect for the summer. Honestly, it's quite a lighthearted read, so pick it up if this plot sounds interesting to you. The next book that I highly, highly recommend is Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. She wrote this very recently, and whenever you pick up a book by Colleen Hoover, her writing sucks you in from the first page. It's not even like, sometimes I pick up her books and I'm like, I'm just going to see if I kind of like this writing style. I pick it up and before we know it, I'm 3 chapters in and I'm in deep. So Reminders of Him is very good. We meet Kenna, who has just gotten out of the prison system so many years later, and her main motivation that she has is to reunite with her child, her baby girl. And it's harder than she thinks, or it's as hard as she expected. She's not the foster parent, so she tries to reunite. Things get in her way, and then we meet Ledger, who also owns a bar, and he has a strong relationship with Kenna's daughter. So the book is kind of the two of them getting to know each other, but at the same time keeping secrets from each other, because of course her motivation is that she wants to see her daughter, but maybe she doesn't want to tell him this because then he might think that she's using him just to see her daughter. Anyways, the way I describe this book, I'm not doing it justice. It's a really beautiful book. I think it's the first book I read in 2022. I think if anyone asked me like, hey, I want to get back into reading, what book should I read? I probably would recommend this one. And switching gears again to talk about a thriller. This thriller is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a murder mystery on a very beautiful coastal remote island. So the one thing I did not like about this book is that the beginning you spend a long time learning about the scenery and the caves and just how beautiful everything is. But if you can get through the descriptive imagery, which some people like that, they find it really relaxing. If you can get through that and then get to know the characters, you will start to feel like you were at this fancy wedding. And once you learn the characters' motives for who killed who, it's a good read. So if you're in the mood for another whodunit mystery that you want to feel like you're at a fancy wedding party, I recommend picking this one up. The next book I want to recommend is Such a Fun Age. This is a debut novel, and I think it is actually really good. So we follow Alex, who is a rich Manhattan person. I don't know if she's from Manhattan actually, but I just feel a lot of characters, if they're rich, they're in Manhattan. And then we follow Amira, and the book opens with Alex witnessing someone accuse Amira of shoplifting, and she sees that and she's like, oh my god, this shouldn't happen, this happens all the time. She goes up to Amira and she's like, hey, do you want to be my nanny? And offers her a job, and Amira's like, oh my god, I'm used to it. And Alexis, is that her name? What's her name? Yeah, Alex really wants to rescue her. She wants to rescue the black woman in the store, and she has good intentions, but naturally they're not taken well. And this is just a really good coming of age story. We get to see sort of the friendship or the relationship between this rich woman that offers this poor black woman a job. Can't remember much between plot, but I know that she becomes a nanny, and I just think, honestly, I picked this book up because I like the cover and I like the title, but if you kind of like that female friendships theme, I think that you will like this one. The next book I think you might enjoy if you like romances is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. You will cry a lot with this one. This one is a childhood friends to lovers, so it's told between two alternating timelines. We meet Elliot and Macy. Macy is a pediatric resident. I forget what Elliot does, but basically they were childhood friends, and then they lost contact because of some reason, didn't speak for very, very many years despite being so close back in the day. They reunite and they kind of explore what happened, why did we lose touch, and you get to learn the different perspectives of each of these characters. And the last book I have for you is an oldie but a goodie. That is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. This is one of the first chick lit books I ever read as a teenager. It is so funny. So basically what happens is this woman is on a plane, she's on a flight somewhere, there's lots of turbulence, she gets really, really scared, and to calm her anxiety, she starts word vomiting to the passenger beside her, who is a stranger, telling him all her secrets. That is how the book opens. And then you find out a few pages later that the guy that she was telling all her secrets to is the CEO of a company that she just started working for. This book is hilarious. It's an older book, so a lot of people will say oh, this character is dumb and stupid, but I just think it's a funny book. I don't think every book needs to be some sort of political commentary. Sure, it can, but this is just a funny book with funny dialogue, and if you just want to see these characters embarrass themselves and make fools of themselves, but while still rooting for a positive outcome, I think you will really like Can You Keep a Secret. So please let me know what books you plan on reading this summer, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!